Boy, it's cold today. It is what I consider to be the first day of winter. I know that's not official, but the clocks went back last night, and as far as I'm concerned, if it gets dark at 5 o'clock in the evening, then it's winter. And it certainly feels it today. So we've discovered recently, I don't know who put it out, but somebody's released some statistics to show that the numbers of people who are cycling is actually falling. And that's no surprise, really, because during COVID there was a huge upsurge in cycling interest, because the only way people could go out was for exercise. So you could go out for a walk, but a lot of people were either furloughed or working from home, so they still had loads of time on their hands. So people decided to buy bikes and go further. You can be out for longer. And the industry didn't really know how to cope with it, because suddenly there was a huge increase in demand for bikes. And they couldn't get stock, and there were waiting lists, and prices started going up, of course. I mean, that's the capitalist world we live in, you know. Use anything you can to increase profits. And that's the way it went. And there were people from all walks of life out cycling. And it was clear that that wasn't going to last, because when the lockdown ended and people started going back to work, they had less time on their hands. But nevertheless, you would have thought that some of those people who started cycling during lockdown would have found they really enjoyed it. And then those people would be attracted to staying in the sport. But that didn't really happen. And one of the reasons for that was that during lockdown, people were riding on reasonably empty roads. After the lockdown, there's one of the comments on the Wild Ones podcast. Once people got back out in the traffic, they realised that road cycling is really shit. According to the statistics, there's been a 40% increase in the volume of traffic compared to pre-lockdown levels. And anybody who spends any time out on the road will tell you. It feels more like it's more than doubled. And wherever you go down the quietest country lane, come to the roundabout in our housing estate, and there'll be 4 or 5 cars that you have to wait for, even first thing on a Sunday morning. And I've just had to stop talking for 10 minutes, because when a car comes towards you, the noise overwhelms the soundtrack of the video. And there's literally a constant stream of cars going into Port Call at 8:30 on a Sunday morning, it meant I couldn't say anything for 10 minutes. And with that increase in the volume of traffic, there's also been a huge increase in aggression and self-centeredness. Ordinary, mild-mannered people become possessed by the devil when they get into a car. And they all believe that if they get held up behind someone for 5 or 6 seconds, that it could be life or death. And according to research, that's one of the biggest factors putting people off cycling, is the aggression of car drivers. So I went out last Sunday. Strangely enough, it was relatively quiet. So I went out on the same route on Friday. It's a relatively minor road, and I may as well have been on the motorway. There's literally nose to tail cars just passing me, cars in the opposite direction. And with that, a number of close passes, 5 or 6. I mean, close passes you get all day long, you know. When they talk about the 1.5 metre rule, forget that. You know, if you get 1 metre, you're lucky, and that's fine. But the ones that I'm talking about are the dangerous close passes. I had somebody pass me towards an oncoming truck. He realised he wasn't going to make it and just turned back into the lane, and he really just pushed me off the road. He didn't feel a thing. Fortunately, I was able to brake and managed to stay on the road. But when he gets home, he won't go, "Oh dear me, that was close. I nearly did a really bad thing there." No, he won't care in the slightest. Because this is the other thing. It's part of the problem. It's just a sense of entitlement. There are some that pass you close because there's oncoming traffic and they can't wait. Got to get past. But sometimes, even if there is no oncoming traffic, they pass you close anyway. Even on a dual carriageway. Sometimes. Anyway, I started thinking, I really should report these people. But the thing is, you know, I get close past quite often, and it's a bit of a laborious process. You know, you get your video, find the clip. You then have to take a still frame to get the registration of the vehicle. They want to know the exact time, the exact place where the incident happened. The first time I reported something, I felt really bad about it. A van came past me as I was turning left at a roundabout. And because of the little island in the middle of the road, he passed me with literally an inch or two to spare. And the irony is, half a mile further up the road, there was a set of traffic lights. And when I got there, he was still waiting at the lights. So he'd achieved nothing. And so I came up next to him and I put my hand up, looked at him as if to say, "Well, what were you thinking?" And he hooted and then raised his middle finger to me. So I thought, that was the thing that tipped me over the edge. So I reported him. And then a couple of weeks later, I got an email saying that they'd reviewed my video footage and that action would be taken. They won't tell you what action unless it was to go to court. Basically, is the person has signed an admission of guilt. And I felt bad, because some people rely on their driver's license to get to work and things. And then I thought, hang on, no. If you rely on your driver's license, don't drive dangerously. But as I say, it is quite a laborious process. And usually, if it's a branded vehicle, I just find it easier to send it off to the company themselves and ask if they condone that kind of driving. If they encourage their drivers to drive dangerously, they shouldn't have branded vehicles. And so while I was going along last Friday, and I had 5 or 6 close passes, and I thought, I should report them. I thought, well, the thing is, it's too much trouble, the number of close passes I get, I can't report them all, it just takes too long. And that was a bit of a wake-up call for me. Well, hang on a minute, if there are too many close passes to report, it means as cyclists, we're in permanent danger. In a recent survey carried out by the BBC, I think it was, they interviewed people, some of whom said they deliberately close past cyclists hoping to injure them because they hate them. I mean, you wouldn't run over somebody deliberately because, I don't know, they'd cause you to lose your job, or they'd refused a loan, or whatever. And yet people are prepared to injure, possibly kill cyclists purely and simply because of the activity of cycling, without even knowing the person. Maybe the nurse that treats you in hospital, maybe the mechanic that fixes your car. But they hate them purely and simply because of the activity they take part in. People like that should never ever be allowed anywhere near a motor vehicle. So the only way we can remove the danger, we all need to report these people so that they realise that there are consequences to their actions, so they don't get away with it every time. We need to get them to understand that they're not entitled to the road, that they're not superior to cyclists or other road users. You don't get to drive dangerously just because you forgot to plan and now you're running late. And it's no good saying, oh yeah, but the reason I'm late is because of the traffic. Because if you're in a car, you are the traffic. So I encourage you to report close passes and other dangerous manoeuvres, because as cyclists we want to stay safe out there. We want other people to take up cycling, and that will also reduce the volume of traffic.